Welcome to the Misunderstood Introverted Black Girl podcast with your host, Xylia, aka Zai. I feel nervous. Okay, I gotta relax. It's supposed to be chill. It's supposed to be like we just chit chatting. So, this podcast is where we'll discuss all things from being an introvert, self love, womanhood, growing, healing, childhood trauma, finances, everything in the book, pretty much. This is going to be the first episode. This is our first take. I have like a perfectionism thing. I'm trying to relax, but in this episode, I just basically want to get into like who am I, what the podcast is going to be about. This is just going to be like an introduction episode, but the real first podcast does drop next Monday. I'm going to be posting every single Monday. That is going to be our posting schedule. And if you want to listen, we're going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and here on YouTube. And also on our TikTok, we'll have like snippets and on our Instagram. So I'll put all those on the screen. Or the username is TM ibg.podcast. That's usually the @ name for all of our social medias. So I'm just gonna introduce myself. If you've never seen me, I go by Zelia Armani on my YouTube channel and on my TikTok, and that's also my Instagram. But I don't really use Instagram because I don't really mess with Instagram. But I make lifestyle content. I've been in the content creator game trying to get up there with the big dogs. So that's basically what I do is I do weekly vlogs. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's Zelia Armani, or my TikTok for like little snippets of my everyday life. It's also Zelia Armani, but I'm 23 years old. I feel like I just take the title as Miss Introvert. I really do feel like that. And I feel like I've always wanted to speak on the topic and multiple topics. And now I'm just like, let's get to it. We're healing from a breakup. We're learning self-love. This is the perfect time. This is the perfect time to start doing everything here, starting right now. So I actually did post like a mini story already on my introvert journey. I did it like 2 years ago. And just basically how I felt, what I've gone through, the things I've thought about myself. And that is on my YouTube channel, Xylia Armani. But if you want to listen to like my full story, it's like 20 minutes. I'll link it in my description box. But I'll give you like a quick run through of basically how we got here. As a kid, I've always been shy. I I don't remember when I never wasn't. I'm gonna be honest. So I remember always being clingy to my mom, so I'm pretty sure I have some type of separation anxiety. Growing up, I've always just been like close to, like I had to be close to my mom. I remember that. Basically, I was always shy. I wasn't like, oh, go in the middle of the circle, do a dance for $5. Like, you know, when kids have parties and stuff. No. I would like literally cry if people tried to talk to me, tried to get to know me. So this has been since I was a kid type of thing. In elementary school, I was kind of out there with my friends, but not really. I was the typical goody two shoes. Like, I kind of resent it now, but basically, I was just a good kid because we'll get into it. That I had to do honors kid, and my childhood and my upbringing is where I feel like pushed me into being an introvert because I grew up in a very toxic, argumentative type of household, constant arguing, constant screaming. So, and always getting in trouble. It used to always be so mind boggling to me that I could go to school and be the star student. I could go to school, get hundreds, everyone loves me. I go home and one of my parents is just like, it's always something, always, constantly. Like, it was like, I don't know, I feel like I could never understand why. It just always messed with me mentally, pretty much. So, elementary school, it was pretty much shy kid, sometimes with her friends cool, and goody two shoes. Middle school, same type of thing, but in middle school, I remember 8th grade is when I started allowing myself to be a child because I felt like I was trying to live up to this expectation of one of my parents or both of my parents, on and off both of my parents, but mainly one of my parents. And I don't know, when I got to 8th grade, I was like, I'm a kid. Like, I should be getting in trouble. I should be acting like other people my age. So I started getting a little like freer. And by that point, I had been in that school for 4 years. So I was comfortable with all the kids, comfortable with the teachers. And with me, it takes me a while to get comfortable. But once I'm comfortable, oh, you want to see the real Zylia. That's the thing. People who know me surface level, I'm always the person, and I'm not doing this to my home. I'm not doing this to my own horn, being so serious, but I'm always the person that's like, oh, we love her, she's so amazing. But that's like, I just know how to just be myself, and I guess that's to some lovable type of energy. But I don't know. So surface level, everyone's always just like, "Oh, we love her. She's amazing. This and that." And that's just because I'm not doing anything. Like I'm really not even being me for real. I'm just being like, I don't know, normal. Let's say like work or something. I'm just going to work doing my job. And you tell me you love me? Um, I don't know. I don't get it. High school. High school was interesting. High school is where it really started getting bad in being an introvert of like this is where I really started to feel like I didn't belong because I went from going to charter schools my whole life to public school. Public school, you're gonna get any and everything, any and everybody, okay? And most of those kids, and especially we in high school, most kids I just found out, was doing things in middle school. I was nowhere close to that. I was never fast. Honestly, grew up in a strict household, couldn't do anything anyway. But those type of things was never on my mind to be outside doing it, things like that, doing drugs, having intercourse with people. This wasn't my life. Mm-mm. So I already started when I got to high school. I'm just like, oh, I really don't feel like I belong. Down to the music everybody listened to, down to how people acted, down to being rebellious, a rebellious teenager. I didn't get into like a rebellious stage until 12th grade because at that point I was done. Like I was like annoyed with my life because I just felt like I spent all my life being a goody two shoes to get to high school and still be treated like I was a child the entire time, still told, "Oh, you can't do nothing, you can't go nowhere." But that's like the childhood trauma that we not gonna get into right now. We're not gonna get into that right now. But when it came to interacting with people in high school, this is where I feel like social anxiety it definitely made its debut into my life. I realized that I don't know how to talk to people. I really don't know how to talk to people because I wasn't allowed to go outside. I wasn't allowed to be a kid as a kid. In therapy, my therapist refers to it as a parentified child, which is when you take on adult responsibilities as a kid. So I was not pretty much able to be a kid as I would have liked to be a kid. So getting into high school, everyone's being a rebellious teenager. And in my mind, I've always felt 10, 15 years older than what I was. So imagine being in high school and your friends is skipping class to go so see a boy or something like that. And you're over here in class getting hundreds and on honor roll and things like that. My mind was like straightforward, but my emotions and the way I felt about myself was poor. Like, I just always felt like there was something wrong with me. I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And it would make me very depressed. We're gonna get into mental health, the conversation, but it made me really depressed, really anxious, and all the time pretty much sad, always crying. But it pushed me into my shell. It pushed me into being to myself, being by myself, and being okay with that because to me, I'm just like, nobody likes me anyway, or gets me. It was kind of more like nobody gets me, nobody understands me, nobody accepts me. So I just say to myself, I kind of felt like I was a bother, so I was just like, you know what? I'll just stay away from everybody. That's the mentality I kind of was having. To this day, I've never liked drinking, smoking, partying, being on multiple guys, jumping from guy to guy. I've never done these things, like to do these things. I always felt made to feel weird that I didn't like doing these things. And I'm speaking from a whole new mindset. I have grown so much in my mentality, but the younger me or me last year and before, you couldn't tell me it's okay to be yourself. You couldn't tell me it's okay to not want to do other things that other people do because I genuinely thought there was something wrong with me. I really thought I was this horrible person. It sounds so bad saying it, but the fact that I lived with this and I know other people do, this is why I want to speak on these topics so that like you're just yourself. If you don't like doing something, it's like so be it. Like especially when it comes to the drinking, partying. I'm 23 and for the last few years I still never wanted to do those things. It can be a little difficult when your generation or your age group, that's the norm or that's what they make popular because then you're like the weirdo. And I think I just titled myself as a weirdo, boring, this and that because I was like, I've heard it my whole life. And to me, I don't feel these things, but people would just put these titles on me. So I would just take it and accept it like, okay, I'm these things. Nobody wants to be around me and I'll shut myself in my house. And something else that will always confuse me is like, I would stay away from people, but then people will still want to talk to me and hang out with me. And I'm like, but you don't even. Y'all, let me know if y'all relate to that. I'll literally be so confused. Like, somebody would invite me somewhere, like, say, like a get together. And I'll be like, no, that's not my vibe, you know? And we'll get into a conversation of, asking introverts to go out and things like that. And it's like, low key, they don't want to ask you. Low key, I don't want to go. It's a confusing thing. But like, say someone invited me, I'm being honest with myself. I'm not gonna feel comfortable there. Everyone's smoking, everyone's drinking. There's gonna be, other things going on. And for me to say, I don't feel like this is my vibe, and then there was a situation where I felt hurt by a response by an old friend. And I'm not gonna lie, now I don't care as much, but back then I really cared because I felt like another people don't get me. People don't understand. Like, it's a lot harder for me than you think to do these things type of mentality. But I feel like I'm rambling. So like I said, I have like the whole thing on my YouTube channel, and I'll link it down below in the description again. But I don't want to go too in depth. I have a video on it. But we'll just get to now, which is me being perfectly okay with who I am. I may be 90% there, I'm not gonna lie. But my mentality around being an introvert, being the way I am, healing, growing, gaining self-love for myself, it is at an all-time high. And that is honestly why I feel the need to start my podcast, because I've said my whole life, I don't want people to feel the way I felt, because I know how horrible it feels to be in such a low place. And I've always wanted to be there for the girls who don't have support or don't have the proper guidance, because I did have a mom and a dad, but I feel like a lot of the things I learned, especially to this day, I learned by myself, and I had to learn a healthier version of it than what they were possibly taught growing up or what they had to learn. So now as an adult, I feel a lot better, and I just want to talk about a lot of topics. Like I said, we're going to get into childhood trauma, healing, self-love, finances, a whole bunch of things. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. If y'all did, let me know down in the comments what was your favorite part, what you relate to, what you want to further talk about, and I will meet y'all in the comments with that. And also so we can get to know each other, because we're going to be building a strong, positive community over here. Negativity blocked. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and don't forget to follow us on all our other social. You can also listen here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And always remember, you have now found a safe place where you're accepted for who you are, and I want you to know that you have a purpose in this life, even if you don't know it yet. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.